welcome to today's City Club Forum. My name is Ralph Delarada, and it's my pleasure to serve as the president of the City Club this year. The City Club was established in October of 1912 and has served as one of the nation's premier public podiums for civic dialogue, covering the most pressing topics of our time. Our guest speakers, rich in experience and knowledge, are here to spur discussion and learning among the citizens of Cleveland, as well as to our national radio audience. Today's guests will be able to update Cleveland citizens about their public transportation services, as well as provide insight into our nation's transportation infrastructure prospects. Mr. Joseph A. Calabrese has been Chief Executive Officer of the Greater Cleveland Regional Transit Authority, or RTA, since 2000. Under his leadership, RTA is currently experiencing 5 consecutive years of ridership growth, which is a phenomenon unseen since the 1970s. Most notably, RTA was named the best public transit system in North America last year. Joe's innovative guidance and amicable demeanor have supported RTA's ascension to prominence. He has stated that RTA is more than just a transportation service. Rather, it is really in the hospitality business. Mr. Calabrese has also stressed the motto of quality service, every customer, every day. One testament to his devotion to customer service has been his introduction of RTA's unconditional guarantee of ride happy or ride free. Mr. Calabrese has introduced a bold agenda with his back to the basics approach. He has led programs involving far-reaching bus replacements and rail system renovations, as well as a focus on improving RTA's image and its financial management. On new projects such as that of the Euclid Corridor, RTA coordinates and works with myriad public agencies and private organizations. Despite dramatic progress, there are still many challenges facing the local and national public transportation industry. The biggest issues are a serious lack of funding and ever-increasing costs. Mr. Calabrese has described a rise in fuel prices to the tune of 600% since 2002, while income from the county sales tax, which funds over 2/3 of RTA's budget, has grown by less than 1% this decade. The agency is facing a $20 million deficit in 2009, largely due to higher fuel prices. He has also described state funding for RTA as one of the most dismal in the nation. Despite tireless attempts to gain funding from Ohio State Legislature, Joe constantly faces the prospect of closing routes and shutting people off from their commute. Ironically, the high gas prices that drive people to rely on RTA may actually be the reason they are isolated from its service. Joe Calabrese has nearly 30 years of experience in the public and private sectors. Additionally, an industry study named him as one of the most innovative and creative general managers in the nation. Joe previously served as president of both Ohio and New York's public transit associations. He currently sits on the board of directors of the American Public Transit Association, chairs a national task force on bus rapid transit, and partakes in a statewide task force examining the future of transportation in Ohio. Mr. Calabrese received his MBA from the University of Buffalo, and he completed postgraduate fellowships at Northeastern, University of Chicago, and the Wharton School at University of Pennsylvania. It is an honor to introduce such an accomplished and energetic leader. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Joseph Calabrese to the City Club.
I think Ralph was trying to depress me with that introduction. I was expecting a call from Jim last night to say we moved this to the Brown Stadium after the great event that we saw in Denver last night, but it's great to be here on beautiful Euclid Avenue. I entered the public transportation industry at a time when gasoline costs were skyrocketing. They went up actually about 300% in a matter of a few months. At a time when our nation was discussing the need to reduce our dependence on foreign crude. At a time when we talked about developing a more European attitude towards public transportation and looking at things like developing intercity rail between the major metropolitan areas. Well, if you weren't here to hear my introduction, you would have thought I started in this industry about 6 months ago. It was actually back in the 1970s, during what was called the Arab oil embargo, when we imported 1/3 of our foreign crude and we're doing gasoline rationing, odd-even rationing. Our legislators were lowering the speed limit on the interstates to save fuel. As we all know, however, that vision quickly vanished, as today we import 2/3 of our diesel fuel. I felt we were so serious about this vision that when I received 2 job offers out of graduate school, one with a bus company, one with Mobil Oil, I went with the bus company. And the rest is history. Well, are we serious about this vision this time? I certainly hope we are. And I hope RTA can play a major part in achieving this vision. The vision actually today is a little broader than it was back then. Back then we weren't quite as keenly aware of the impacts of issues with the environment and the internal combustion engine. Global warming. Doing my undergraduate work in Syracuse, my graduate work in Buffalo, I would have thought global warming was the best thing I've ever heard of. Today I think we know it's not a very good thing. Well, I chose public transit, and here at RTA our mission is to improve the quality of life of people in Northeast Ohio by providing outstanding public transportation services. And public transit is on a roll. Nationally last year over 10.7 billion rides were given on public transit, the highest number since World War II. Public transit experienced over the last 10 years a 35% growth, a growth faster than vehicle miles traveled and a growth faster than aviation travel. As was mentioned here in Cleveland, we've experienced 5 consecutive years of ridership growth, which we think is just an outstanding feat. On the typical weekday, we serve about 200,000 customers on about 11,000 individual trips to and from 8,000 bus stops and stations. And as I often point out, we serve many people who may never step on a bus or train by reducing 50,000 cars from the roadways of Northeast Ohio. And by doing that, we reduce congestion, we improve air quality, and we actually keep the parking rates low downtown. RTA is by far the largest transit system in the state of Ohio. We serve more customers than the systems in Cincinnati, Columbus, Dayton, and Toledo combined. Over the last 5 years, our major growth has been in 3 areas: our park and ride service, our university and school service, and on our rail lines. I think the reasons are pretty simple. Number one is the quality of our service has improved, and we'll talk about that in a moment. And secondly, there's a greater realization that people can save money by using public transit. A recent study focused here in Cleveland says someone will save over $8,000 a year by using RTA as opposed to driving their own vehicles. Our employees drive more than buses and trains. They also drive the economy. Over 60% of all trips on RTA are work-related, about 15% for shopping and retail, and 15% to schools, which includes the Cleveland Board of Education, where we serve all junior high and high school students. And we do that at a cost of about 20% of what it would cost them to provide that service themselves, and certainly saving them a lot of money in that way. RTA also has agreements with both Case and Cleveland states, whereby their students, through a student association fee, get unlimited use to RTA. About 62% of our customers are what we call choice riders that do have a choice and use public transit because they want to. They want to save money, they want to avoid the stress of driving, they want to do something environmentally conscious. The other 38% of our customers are people that really have no choice. Without RTA, they couldn't get to the doctors, couldn't get to the hospitals, couldn't get to schools. For many, it's public transportation or public assistance. And that's a very important fact I want to leave with you today. This is one reason why public transit is subsidized. It is a good public policy to help someone get to work if they can then support themselves and their family, or not to help them get to work and then have the public support them and their family. I think it's a no-brainer. What do you think? RTA is subsidized by taxpayers, as is every public transit system in the world. Studies show the return on that investment is roughly 10-to-1. Fares cover about 20% of RTA's cost, and that's certainly something that many of our customers don't realize, with the sales tax covering about 70%. And as was mentioned, that sales tax has not been robust of late, where in the 1990s that increased at about 5.6% per year. And since 2001, the increase has been closer to 1% per year.